Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Authentic Talks. Today I'm excited because I'm talking with a young man who is a marketer and business strategist with extensive experiences in businesses of many different sizes, you guys, and industries. He has an MBA from the University of North Carolina, and he's done it all. He's launched several businesses, joined the leadership team at a startup, took a job at a billion-dollar communication company, and he's also worked at a Native American economic development firm. He now consults with small businesses and develop their strategies and scale their operations across various industries. You guys, are you ready for another Authentic Talk? Please welcome Benjamin Preston, the author of Harness Your Butterflies, the Young Professional's Metamorphosis to an Exciting Career. Hi, Benjamin. Welcome to Authentic Talks. Authentic Talks is all about authentic conversations. This show is all about growth, love, respect, success, mind, body, and spirit. If you're looking to grow and become your authentic self, then this is the podcast for you. And I am your host, Shanta. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you here on the show because we're going to be talking about some great things today. Can I have you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name is Ben Preston. I'm an author, speaker, and business consultant, and I work with young professionals and helping them uncover what they want to do with their careers and kind of get them to the path of where they're excited about the career. And I think I'm excited about this topic a lot too, because it's a lot. I mean, everyone's had the start of their careers. I think no one's ever really had a smooth beginning to their career. And so I'm happy to take my experiences like my quarter life crisis and things like that and be able to share that with young people so that they can expedite their career path and find the passion, get to their place of passion and purpose and excitement in their career.
I think that's really awesome because for myself, if I had someone like that, like you, to help me with that, I think that I would have found out what that was so many years ago, my purpose and passion for what I want to do. So I think that's really exciting. I have to ask you, Ben, and I'm sure you've heard this question maybe a zillion times before. Can you share with me what sparked your interest in wanting to help young people, to help get them started in their professional life and finding their purpose?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, there was a couple of factors. The first one was the lack of what I would say reliable information. A lot of what I noticed with people giving advice to young professionals are typically they're people who are in their 50s or 60s who are far removed from that time. And not to say that their advice is wrong, but for me, it would never hit home. I had people who were at the pinnacle of their career, at the very top of their career, and you hear them say, just push through, you got to hustle, you got to hustle, you got to hustle. And that's not, for me, it wasn't something that was super practical. It wasn't super useful for me. Because if you're sifting and sorting and trying to find where you belong in the world, no amount of action is going to help you do that. So that was kind of one area of it. One reason that I was like, okay, I need to kind of refine this and write a book about it. The second thing is just my life experience and what I learned early on in my career that I wanted to capture and share, because I think there's so much pressure on people at a very young age. And we get told from our parents, from our teachers, from our mentors, all of the people that we really admire in our lives that tell us, find what makes you happy and do that. And I think that advice is really good, but it's oftentimes very difficult to follow. And so I just wanted to capture the things that I was learning along my journey and saying, okay, now that I'm looking and finding my passion or getting closer to it, how can I package that information and share it with people that are directly behind me who are still experiencing the road, that they're walking on right now. So those were kind of the two main forces for me writing this book.
What was it that you experienced as you were trying to enter the career and find your way?
I think one of the biggest things, there's just so much stuff. There's so much to sift through, and there's so much what I'm calling data. There's so much data in the world where it's really, you can do anything you want. and there's no rules. All the traditional molds have been broken. There's no rules. And for me, it manifested in a quarter life crisis, which I think is very common among a lot of people. You've heard of the midlife crisis, which is people in their 40s or early 50s who are, they go and buy the sports car and they want to like re-energize their life because they feel like they're off track and stuff like that. So I had a quarter life crisis that was the glass breaking for me. And that was the moment where, I was curled up on my on my IKEA bed in my small New York apartment. And I was like, my life is perfect, but yet I'm not happy. I have a great paying job. I'm in New York City. I have all these great friends. I travel the world, but I still didn't feel that level of fulfillment that you want to feel in your career, and you want to feel like you're doing something impactful and meaningful, and that you're following what that internal guidance system is telling you to do. Or, like your inner being or your soul or whatever, like you want to align with the energy that is you, to be excited to go to work and to have, to make the impact that you are feeling like you're destined to make. And if you don't line up with that, it's a really rough road. And so for me, that's what happened. Was I was going down that rocky road, and I was following the guidebook, that your teachers say, like, get good grades, go to college, find a nice job, make good friends, travel the world. Like, that's kind of the guidebook. But if you're not getting fulfillment out of the guidebook, then you kind of need to rewrite the rules. And so that's kind of what I'm learning.
At 25, you already was like with the perfect job, an apartment, and all of that stuff. That's really good.
Well, so ideally, yeah, like I was always one of those people that followed the rules, and people are like, this is the next step, and this is the next step, and this is the next step. And I won't say like at 25, I wasn't at the place in my life where I was, ready to retire and move to like an island. Like, there was still tons of stuff that I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
But in terms of like getting what you envision your long-term job. So for me at the time when I was in college, I was like, wow, like my career at its peak will be, I'll be able to have a ton of friends. I'll be able to travel the world for work, which at the time I was going to Europe and Australia and all these other places. Like, I was traveling for extensive periods of time and living a very luxurious life on my company's dime, which was nice.
Right. Yeah.
Like doing that, getting a good salary. I lived in the Upper East Side of Manhattan on, like right down the street from the Met. Like, there was tons of stuff where in my wildest dreams, I was like, wow, I would have never thought that I would be unhappy living what I thought was my dream. And then that's exactly what happened. For a while I was like, yeah, this is super great, because you create the life that you want. And so that's, for me, that's what I wanted. After a couple of years of doing that, I didn't adjust to what my internal guidance was telling me. And so quarter life crisis happened, but I wasn't prepared, and I didn't have the tools to really navigate and say, okay, now what? And I think that's where a lot of people get lost, is they hit that wall and they just kind of, it's like if you're, when you're a car, you're driving down the street and your check engine light goes on and you're just like, all right, it's fine, I'll just keep driving. Like, that's kind of what was happening. And I just said, oh yeah, like I'll get it checked out in a little bit. Like, I didn't have a therapist. I really wasn't talking to many friends about it either, because people are like, oh, you're living in New York, your life must be so difficult. And I'm like, well, like if we're comparing relativity, like, yeah, my life is better than most people around me, but it didn't necessarily mean that I was fulfilled or happy. And I think that's where some people go off track, is they get to the point where they think that they're supposed to be happy, or they don't make the necessary adjustments, or they don't know how. And then they get into a situation where they're sort of lost and they don't have a direction or a focus. And then that's when you start asking the question, where, how do I find my life purpose? But when you're in that state of being panicked or anxious, which I really wasn't anxious really much before that, but you can't find passion and purpose through anxiousness. You just can't. You can't get there from there. And so you have to be in a very different headspace to hear what that passion and hear what that purpose is, because it's more of a calling than it is, something that you're forced to find.
Whenever you talk about purpose, most people think of purpose as being something where they think that the job or whatever it is has to be very significant. It has to be something where there's grand lights and do you know what I'm talking about?
There's a big neon sign that says you need it.
Yeah.
No, I've kind of a weird relationship with the word purpose. I'm going to just say like capital P, purpose, because I think a lot of people, me included, like when I started working, I thought that purpose was one thing and that it was part of destiny. Like, I always thought that they were somehow interchangeable and they were connected. Like, whatever your end purpose was what you were destined to do. And there was some comfort in that, because it feels so certain. Like, it feels like something that you're going to reach at some point. At least from my perspective, what I found is purpose is not it's not one thing. First of all, I think there's multiple purpose. I think people have multiple purposes in life. And I think that that's set up by design. I think once you reach, for me, I felt like I reached the purpose of my life early on when I said, oh, I really want to do a career where I can travel and have everything that I want all at once. Cause that's stuff that people dream about too. Like,
yeah, definitely.
And so that was part of my life purpose was, hey, I want to say that I lived a life that I did all of that. And then once I got it, I was very bored. So I think purpose is kind of one of those things that it's like your next step or your next goal or your next accomplishment or the thing that you want next. Some purposes that people have are bigger, I think, than others. Just from the nature of adversity. Like the more adversity you have, I feel like the bigger purpose, the bigger life purpose you kind of create, because you want to make a bigger impact in the world for whatever reason. But I kind of think, not to get it super confusing or anything, but I think you have multiple in one lifetime. And I think it's more of a feeling than it is an acknowledgement or someone else coming up to you and saying, you've made it. And so for me, my acknowledgement of purpose is that a feeling of excitement. If you're feeling excited, it means that you're on the right track. It means that you're going in the right direction. It means that you're living your purpose today. So instead of looking at life and being like, am I reaching my purpose? Am I reaching my purpose? Am I reaching my purpose? You should be asking the question, how can I make my life more purposeful today? How can I be more purposeful right now? Whether or not I've identified that this is my life purpose, I just want to make my life more purposeful today. So, right now, like you and I are having this really, really great conversation. I could be instead watching television. Which one of those is more aligning with my purpose in life?
Of course, talking to me. And
no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like there is no place I would rather be. That's kind of the thing.
Same here. There's no place I would rather be than right here talking to you, Benjamin. I love what you said. I love that when you said that people asking the question of how can I make my life more purposeful?
Yeah, just be easy about it. Like, why? I don't know why we always have to be so, we have to make stuff so complicated all the time. Like, if you're not having fun in your career and you're not having fun on the journey that you're on, then think about things that you want to do to spice it up. Like your purpose is, how excited are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? How fun or frisky or energized are you to go to work? Like you might just be like, oh, I totally don't feel that. And there's some days I wake up, I'm not gonna lie, where I'm just like, there is nothing I would love more than to just go to bed right now. But if you're feeling more excited than not, then yeah, you're most likely headed in the direction of your purpose and of your passion. And keep in mind, it's not one of those things that once you get there, it's probably going to be fulfilling for a minute, but then it's going to be very fleeting, just because we're humans and that's how it goes. Like, you always wish for stuff on Christmas, and then once you get it, it's old news. Like you don't want it anymore.
Yeah, that is so true. So do you talk with or help people to understand how to move through the career where they're not just jumping out so quickly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's some cases, usually what people, when I meet with clients, when I meet with customers that I have who are looking for kind of help in their career journey, there's two sort of people that I see. There's people who are very avid and they know what they want. They're very, they have their compass set and they know the direction that they want to move in. They just don't know how. So I have a lot of like how practical things that I can talk through to sort of say like, how do you unpack that? And if I know where I want to go, what am I doing? What's the next step, blah, blah, blah. And then the second type of person is, hey, like I've lived, they just don't know. Like they're like, hey, I've lived a ton of life. I know what I do want. And I definitely know what I don't want in life, but I'm having a hard time figuring out what I do want. And so they're kind of like in a fog still. And so a lot of what I'll do there is just unpack, take it very general. Because I think people get very specific when they're lost. They're like, well, I definitely don't want to be an accountant, and I definitely don't want to be this, and I definitely don't want to be this. And it's like, stop thinking in terms of job titles and start thinking of like bigger picture, because some of those jobs won't exist in 5 years anyway. So it's like, why would you work toward a job that may or may not exist? But yeah, so like kind of those are the two types of people. And then depending on what their personality types are like, because some people are very type A and some people are very type B. Like some people are very process oriented and very factual and very data focused. So I have a lot of processes and tools for people like that, like doing strength finders and things like that. And then some people are more emotionally driven, where it's like it's more of a feeling journey as opposed to a data journey. So there's some tools and stuff that I have that for that as well. So I don't know if you want to talk through either one of those, but those are kind of the people that I see pretty often.
So whenever you are working with people, do you work with like the college student that is in their last year, or either they've just come out and they're just starting their career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the people that I'm working with are early career professionals who have already been working, people who are, I would say, probably like 2 to 6 years in their career, people who have a little bit of taste of what the world is offering, but their expectations of the world were very different. And so I think there's some level of calibration, which is normal. I mean, like think about if you jump into a pool and it's super cold, like your body's going to take a minute to acclimate before you actually are comfortable. You're still going to be cold for a second. So like there's some acclimation and calibration that comes with that. But yeah, it's mostly people who are already working. What I have seen that's really interesting though is I have a couple people who, just like family friends or people that I know, and they'll the older people who will message me and be like, my son just graduated high school. Would you mind talking to him about his career and da 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 da? And I'm like, wow, like it is never too early to think about your career apparently. But it gets me a little bit anxious because I remember being in high school and having that question too, of like, what do I do with the rest of my life? And it's just such a big, it's a little sad to me because I think we put so much pressure on our young people early on to decide what they want to do for the rest of their lives. But then we don't really uncoach them on how to do that once they leave. So like, when you're 5 or 6 or 7 years old, people say, well, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And you kind of have to decide then and there. I mean, you don't actually, but like we just make people think about it so early. And then by the time you become older and you have to say that, you have that mentality of like you're only going to do one thing for the rest of your life, and it's just really daunting.
It is. I remember being asked that question as well in later years, and I remember feeling that feeling of, ooh, I have to find something. I have to find something. I have to say something. And so yeah, and it's oftentimes sometimes you really don't know.
Would you have said, if I would have asked you when you were little, would you have ever said that you wanted to be a podcaster?
No.
Yeah, because you love it now though, right?
I do, but I didn't know. I didn't even know what that was back then. You won't believe this. I actually rarely watch a ton of television, and I actually find myself like more of I'd like to listen to podcasts, and I like to listen to stuff like this, like where people are sharing like why they do what they do, why did they write that book, and stuff like that. And for some people that might be like not exciting, but it is for me. If you had asked me that question when I was younger, 7, 8, 9, even at 15, I would have said no. I wouldn't have.
Which is not a bad thing. That's a great thing.
That leads me into this. So you wrote a book, Ben. It's called Harness Your Butterflies, The Young Professional's Metamorphosis to an Exciting Career. And I actually love the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you. So the book in general is a young professional's development guide to creating an exciting career. So like we were talking about before, the two types of people that come to me are usually people who know what they want to do and they don't have the tools to do it, or people who have no clue in general. So the book is written in a way to help people either, if you are lost or what you want to do, it gives you the tools, it sets you up to say, okay, how do you find what you want to do? How do you make your life more purposeful? And then it actually walks through steps and practical processes. And that's just how I am, is I'm a very process type of person. So it walks you through kind of how to do that. What are the steps that you can take? And obviously you don't need to follow everything word for word, but it's pretty insightful in terms of like how to find your strengths, how to mitigate weakness. Because a lot of people will tell you that you need to fix your weaknesses. And my approach to that is absolutely not. There's some information in there. Obviously, I talked about the quarter life crisis. There's some information in there about like how to deal with anxiety and things like that. just stuff that young professionals, or at least, like when I was coming up and learning all these things the hard way, I just captured those and said, if I were to do this over again, how would I want to do it? And so it's really written more as a guidebook to say, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. And there's some fun analogies along the way and things like that, just because I feel like if you're reading a book, you always want to kind of laugh at the author. So I tried to write it that way too. But yeah, so that's kind of an overview of the book. And I think the title, I just want to touch on the title of it too, because I think it's kind of a fun story. So there was a saying that my mom always used to say, which was like, the butterflies in your stomach, which was always that feeling that you get of like excitement or nervousness. And when I was writing the book, I was talking to the publishers, and I was just, we didn't have a title for it yet. And I had just seen a talk from Mel Robbins, who I admire her so much. I think she's brilliant. But she talked about, she's like a best speaking, or, amazing speaker. She's like spoken all over the world, business person, fantastic lady. But she had a quote about when she goes to speak, and she said that she always feels nervous when she goes to speak. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird, because she's like a huge name and that's what she gets paid to do. And she said, but the difference between being nervous and excited is just what you tell yourself. Like, it's a psychological thing. She goes, your body will always feel nervous in times of stress. And she goes, but biologically speaking, there's no difference between the feeling of excitement and the feeling of nervousness. The only difference is what you tell yourself. So, if you're in the whole, I think I cover that in the first chapter too, but just like harnessing your butterflies, it's just a mentality shift. And then once you've made that shift mentally, then you're ready to grasp and create the career that you've always wanted.
Wow, I absolutely love it. If I had had something like this, I feel like it would have made my life so much easier. And I'm not just saying that. I actually really do like the book. I feel like there's a lot of takeaways that people can actually apply and use in their life, to help them through. And I know that you even talked about what makes today's top thought leaders, like successful, and where you're able to take them into that place of like, okay, here's something tangible that this is what made them successful,
Yeah.
and
yeah, it's cool too, because there's a lot of, I cover a lot of people, and I will say I did not put anybody in the book who I didn't authentically admire. All of the people who I wrote into the book, I am a huge fan of, and they shaped my early career as well. But I wanted to include some people that you've heard of, like obviously like Oprah Winfrey's in there, Tony Robbins is in there, Mel Robbins is in there, but there's also some people that you might not have heard of that also have really, really great stories. But I wanted to bring those people in because I think they all have such a different aspect of life that they can shed light on. But like people that you wouldn't expect, like Jim Carrey, he was talking about finding a career that you love. And he had a quote about his dad Jim Carrey's father wanted to be a comedian, but he didn't believe that journey was possible. So instead he became an accountant. And when Jim was little, his dad ended up getting fired from that accounting job. And so Jim Carrey said that, you might fail at what you don't want to do, so you might as well do what you love. And so that's the type of thing to me where it's like, holy cow, like I'm just getting goosebumps right now, just reciting the quote.
Me too.
Yeah. Like there's stuff like that where I'm just like, geez, Louise. So there's a lot of inspirational stuff in there too, just because I feel like there's so much to be learned and grasped from the people that have come before that have these such dynamic experiences.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I love that quote by Jim Carrey. I think that it's so true. And that's how we all should be when we're pursuing or living our life, period, no matter what it is. Career, just your everyday life, just having that type of a outlook or mindset. You talked about limiting beliefs in your book. Can you share with me like your opinion of limiting beliefs?
I think that limiting beliefs is one of the most underrated topics in media. I think, and I firmly believe this, you will never get what you don't expect. So if you expect that things will go wrong, or if you have a belief about yourself, it becomes an expectation. And a belief to me is just something that it's a thought that you think over and over and over. So if you approach life and you say that you're not good at math, let's say that, because that's a huge limiting belief that a ton of the population has.
Mm-hmm.
If you say to yourself, or you have other people say to you, and this happens really early on, unfortunately, a lot of our kids have this thrust upon them, that they're not good at math. That belief you will carry with you, and you will prove yourself correct over and over and over that you're not good at math. And if there is an instance of math that you are good at, you will miss it. You will miss it completely because you believe that you aren't good at math. The thing with limiting beliefs is there are thoughts that you keep thinking that don't allow you to reach your full potential, and it's self-inflicted. It's not something that kind of pops up from the background and you're like, oh, I didn't know that that wasn't a thing. It's like stuff that you've baked in that sets your expectation of how you believe the world should act. And my thing with limiting beliefs is nip that crap in the butt, because if you go around and you say you're not good at math, it paints the picture for the rest of your career. And I think that it's not bad to have, to be self-aware, because I think that's a difference. If you're self-aware about something, so like, if you really you don't know how to do accounting, just to be clear, like I have tried doing accounting. I didn't do well in it, but I'm also not wanting to be an accountant. So if you're going in life and you're trying to do these things and you notice that there's a lot of beliefs or things that are in your way, it's most likely self-inflicted, just because we have these thoughts that we constantly bring with us. And you just got to unpack it and just say, I'm going to shift the narrative and I'm going to start thinking about something else. So in the case of math, if it's really becoming something that's getting in the way of your career, you can't avoid math. Like, let's just say it. Like I went into journalism school because I did not want to do math. And when I got into my professional career, I started leading a marketing department. And guess what? The very first thing that I had to do, math. Like I had to do budgeting. I had to do more budgeting. Like there's some things in life that you just can't ignore. And the more that I started playing with math and started playing and kind of making it my own, I realized, hey, like I'm actually not bad at math. I just told myself I was bad at math because that was the narrative that was comfortable for me. But now that narrative is no longer serving me, so I can rewrite it and start saying something different.
I absolutely love it. When you talk about speaking doesn't help you understand, can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So one of the chapters in the book is about, and this was inspired from one of my grade school teachers who at the time I couldn't stand her. She was one of my least favorite teachers. Whenever we would be caught talking, and because I like talking, I've always liked talking. I think you're probably the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always one of those people who was so interested in how other people were doing things. So like in class, I would always be talking to people and, being like, what'd you do this weekend? How did this go? What is this? What's going on here? Anyway, so I always used to get in trouble for talking all the time. And our teacher used to make us write over and over in our notebooks, like how old school teachers used to make you write on the chalkboards, and you'd see it in movies and stuff. We would have to write "Silence is Golden." And I think it was from like the old AMC commercials before movies or something. They had that little title sequence that was like "Silence is Golden." Anyway, so we used to have to write that in our notebooks. And it was the most like tedious thing, and I hated it. But as I got older, I realized, and this is pretty interesting, just if you kind of notice it, the people who do really well in life, or the people who are really successful business people, or whatever function or industry that you're in, the people who tend to get ahead and the people who are the most revered are the people who say the least. And I think the biggest reason that is because the more that you're talking, the less that you are molding and shaping and doing. And a lot of times, if you focus your energy on talking, you're not really building anything. You're not really doing anything. You're kind of just like, you're just talking for the sake of talking. And as Americans, we have this tendency to talk without saying anything. Like if you watch the news, like people will talk, but they don't say anything. And so if you look at like great speakers like Warren Buffett, or not speakers, great business people like Warren Buffett, he doesn't really say, people will come to him and ask for interviews, but like at the end of the day, that dude is just making money because he wants to make money. And people will come to him and they'll ask him like, can you give us advice? And his responses are usually very short. And I think the lesson there is like, you can learn so much more from listening than you can do from talking. Because if you're talking, you're not learning.
I love that.
It's one of the most important things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that no matter what age you are, you can apply. Like literally school students of all ages.
Mhm.
I like that. I haven't heard that in so long. And the way that you put it, it's packaged very well. You know what I loved? When I was reading the book, you actually go into talking about like knowing your worth. And
Mm.
that's something that if people are able to understand that, I think it changes the dynamics of how they proceed in their life as well.
Yeah. We live in such an interesting time. I always laugh because I'm like, I wonder if people, 100 years ago, if they could see us today, what their commentary would be. Because I think so many of us spend so much time doing stuff to justify our existence. Like, I mean, if you think about social media, even like we spend way too much time trying to justify and get like accolades from other people. And it's like, why are we doing that? Like, at the end of the day, like your worth and my worth is not contingent on what other people think about you. It absolutely has nothing to do with it. It's inherently everyone is worthy. I believe that firmly. You don't have to do a single thing to be worthy. The difference is some people are a lot better at allowing their worthiness than others. And I think if you are constantly waiting for other people to give you, the A plus, or you're waiting for, that subscriber count to go up. Cause I started a YouTube channel and I was all about that. I was like, my numbers aren't going up, but it doesn't affect my worthiness. But like a lot of times people do that. Like if they don't have the following, if they don't have the business, if they don't have the, the primetime realist, primetime news channel anchor spot, then they didn't make it. And I think we all kind of put our worthiness on the justification from others. And the thing that's interesting is like no amount of justification or work or action or accolades from other people will ever help you become fully worthy, because other people don't know what you've done and they don't know where you've come from and they don't know your experience. And so, and I hope that's not too, like in the clouds, kind of out of reach, but I think for so many people, it's like your worthiness is allowed. You are inherently worthy. And if you're not allowing it, then you need to start allowing it, because it shouldn't be based on what other people think about you, because happiness is an inside job. And no matter what people say to you or about you, it's not something that they should not have that level of control over your life and your worthiness.
I love it. It's like you're saying that it's your birthright.
It is. It totally is. That's a great way to put it. It totally is. Like, because we're all here doing the same thing. No matter if you don't have the level of accomplishment of someone else, it doesn't really matter. Those accomplishments are coming from another group of people. It's not like those accomplishments are internal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah, it's like they don't define who you are.
like it's coming from, I watched that movie Shape of Water, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it, but they got a ton of awards and a ton of accolades for that movie. And I was like, you know what? Not my place. But if it were up to me, if they heard just Ben Preston's opinion on the movie, they wouldn't feel worthy. But the fact that they got all these awards and stuff, I'm sure that they felt really, really good, which is great. But people are so fickle. It's like, if they would have just heard my one critique on the movie, which again is irrelevant, they would not feel that a level of self-worth. And worth comes from within. It doesn't come from Ben Preston or whoever,
That's so true. So I have to ask you, what was that movie about?
It was like a fish that falls in love with a person or something. I don't know. I didn't love it. It was kind of weird, but I was tuning in and out. I don't know. I think it was probably one of those, if somebody was in the room watching it with me, they would be like, well, the reason you didn't like it is because you didn't watch it. And I'm like, well, I tried to watch it.
I've had that too, Ben, where there's these movies that win the awards and you're like, oh, let me write them down. I would write down every year, like I get a list and I'm like, okay, we got to watch this one. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, this is a war movie and I'm just not feeling it. But okay, somewhere along here, it gets really good because it won an award.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you're stuck watching it because you're invested.
Yeah.
You're already in it. Yeah.
Then at the end, you're like, I must have missed something.
Yeah, right. Like, who voted on this movie?
Yes. They must have been related to someone on the committee.
Right.
Oh, and then other times I'm like, wow, this was amazing. I cannot believe I didn't know about this movie,
Yes.
So how has things been shaping up for you? Do you have a new norm with the COVID-19? And you have really good energy, Benjamin, that's coming through. How
Oh,
have
well,
you been able to sustain that?
well, I just came off of like a 3-week flu or something that knocked me out. So I'm just happy to be up and up and around today.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's been interesting with COVID. I am a very avid like plant person. Like I love indoor gardening and stuff. And I think when I first started with COVID, well, it's always weird because I like live by myself in an apartment. So it's always weird to be in isolation for long periods of time. So it's been a really good excuse because I live on the East Coast and most of my family is from the Midwest. I'm from Nebraska originally, and most of my family still, and a lot of my friends and stuff still live in the Midwest. So it's kind of shaped my habits. So I've been collecting a lot more plants and having a lot more Zoom meetings and just kind of like refocusing. I saw an interview with, I think it was Ayan Levan's cat with Oprah.
Ayana Van Zant.
Van Zant. Sorry,
Yes.
I watch her all the time and I can't ever say her name.
It took me
I don't-
years.
You might have seen this interview then. She did one with Oprah about COVID and how it was like so interesting because a lot of people were talking about it like it was the worst thing that has ever happened to the world. And she was like, not really. Like it's removing all these like fake idols or false gods and stuff. And she's like, it's really teaching people to focus on what matters. And you kind of are eliminating all of these things that we used to use as distractions. And we're instead pivoting toward the things that we want and saying, everybody's journey is unique. So instead of watching a new episode of SNL, which I used to do all the time, I'm going to invest more in my hobbies like indoor gardening or, talking to my family, talking to my friends, figuring out new ways to have game nights. Like I've had more conversations with people over the past couple of months who I haven't talked to in years. And we're talking now on a weekly basis. So it's been a really interesting shift, but I also kind of think it was a little bit necessary. Like, I don't think that we needed to have a pandemic for this to happen, but I think it's almost like a reset. Like everyone just like look at what matters in your life and focus on that. And I think that's, at least for me and people in like my close circle, that's what a lot of us have been doing during this time.
Yeah, I think I agree that I feel like the relationships have definitely changed. And for me, I noticed that before you could not pay me to take a college course online and having to use Zoom. I would have said, no way, I just can't do it. It would be hard for me to focus because in my mind, I was like, I would be watching TV.
Yeah.
I would be doing I want to get up and do all of these different things, but I find that like, I love it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You still make that connection with people and life it just keeps moving, and I think that there's going to be now this space for people to have therapists and life coaches and people to help them, like where the state lines doesn't matter.
Yeah, agree.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree.
So I think that that's what's really awesome about it. So now you get to have clients that are not in your state. They could be back at home in Nebraska. They could be in Arizona, California, Las Vegas. You guys hear me? You guys out there in Las Vegas, give Ben a call. Actually, probably more like link up with your website or email you or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Email, I'm everywhere. LinkedIn is probably a good thing too. I have a lot of connections on LinkedIn, so that's a fun place to interact. Yeah, LinkedIn, email, website, all of those.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to actually have this conversation. And
This has been so much fun.
yeah, I think that it has too. I love your energy, Ben. I think that you are, whatever you're doing, it's working because I feel like something coming through, like you got good energy for sure,
Must be the lemon water.
What kind of plants are you growing?
I have all types of plants. I originally started with some of the easier ones, like the Sansevieria snake plants. Well, I guess they're Dracaenas now, but snake plants, and just like the vining, the basic vining plants and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've gotten really deep down the rabbit hole on this, and the people at Lowe's and Home Depot, my local Home Depot and Lowe's, they know me very well.
That's good that you're able to keep them alive. I have trouble with that.
Most of them. I mean, there's some that are tricky, but like once you kind of get the hang of, because some of them are difficult to figure out the watering. I feel like that's the biggest thing. But some of them, like I have a couple ficus trees that they were a little bit weird at first, but I kind of realized their behavior. They're kind of like having, not that I have kids, but I would like to say that it's probably similar to having like kids, or like pets is probably more realistic. Once you kind of figure out what they're trying to say, then you can give them what they're looking for.
I need to take that and try to figure it out, because all the plants that I get, they start off amazing, and then after a while I'm like, what's going on? It's not happy. Let me move it. And then you start trying to find a new area in the house, maybe if I put them over here, and then you're like, okay, maybe if I put them on the patio, let's put them outside, and then that's it. It's all she wrote.
I think that you should just keep going for it. I've killed plenty of plants in my time, but some of them that are quote unquote easy care plants, I kill those the fastest. So not to say that everything is peachy keen over here, but there's some plant. I mean, it's kind of just like you got to find the types of plants that do really well for you, and then you're good.
The one that I want is spearmint and mint. I'm trying to get because I want to have like a drink, even if it's water, and I want to break off a piece of the mint, and I want to have it, in my watermelon water, or
I love that.
And they just don't work for me.
Well, yeah, I feel like in Arizona too, you guys would get plenty of sun. Up here, like because I'm in DC, we get some sunlight, but like not enough to have like gardening year round type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I've never tried mint or spearmint. They might be I truly don't know. I haven't done vegetables or like herbs or anything.
Mm-hmm. I've heard people say that like it spreads, it takes over your entire garden, but yeah.
And you're like, that would be the problem that I would like to have.
Yes, that's a good problem. But yeah, it doesn't work out for me so far. But you're right. I'm going to keep trying. I'm not going to give up.
And if you need any tips, let me know. I can try to help you.
You're like, put some water on it. Put water on it,
Set up
yeah. And I guess there is a such thing as overwatering too. I was like, okay, it's not getting enough water. And then I look at the bottom and I'm like, the bottom of it is overflowing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. It just looks. I have had that where a plant that I see every day, because you just want to take care of them. Like for some of them, the ones that I care about the most, I put out of eyesight until like I don't have it in my line of path, like where I walk all the time. Because if I see it all the time, I'll water it all the time. That's my rule that I've learned. So the plants that I really, really like, I'll have them kind of like in the corner by the TV, or, like somewhere that I don't look every single minute of the day. Because then I won't think to like overwater them.
Yeah. So I have to ask you this question, Ben. If you and I could trade places, if you could sit in this seat, what question would you ask yourself that I have not asked you?
That is a great question. I might ask I don't know. My original question, the first thing that came to mind when you said that was like, what are you working toward right now? Like, what's your new purpose or your new passion?
I love it.
I know, but I don't know if I have an answer. I'm like, what a great question. And then I'm like, I don't know if I have an answer.
You've got to tell me more.
I know. I really want to start doing more. Well, obviously not with COVID, but I want to start figuring out how to travel more and do not necessarily like speaking engagements. I mean, speaking engagements would be fun, but just like personal travel and just kind of enjoy what the world has to offer. Like, I don't think I truly have spent enough time admiring like even when I have traveled around the world, like I've gone some really interesting places. I don't think I ever truly like sat down and just sat in awe of like what the world is, like how cool the world is. I really want to start doing something with that and just like go like on a world admiration tour or something.
Ooh, I think that you should do it. You definitely should do it.
I know. I need to wait for all the COVID stuff
Yeah, I think that all of the stuff with COVID is probably going to be here until maybe like next year. And I think that people are going to start traveling. Mm-hmm. I actually spoke with someone. Her name is Monica, and she actually has this travel agency or company. And that's what they do. They like book people to take them to Africa, all around the world, actually. And she was telling me that people are now booking their vacations, but it's all for 2021.
See, I should do that. And it's good too, because it's giving me a little bit more time to save up money for stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want to do like an African safari or like,
Ooh, me
yeah,
too.
where I really want to go. I don't know. So do you watch Shark Week at all?
I know, but I know someone that says that it's really good.
I think it is South Africa that they do the shark cage. I mean, I think they do them all over the world, but I think like the great white sharks are in South Africa, I think. Like I really want to do that. Like I want to do the shark cages with like the great white sharks.
Ooh, I say you should definitely go for it. Look into like, there was a lady who was even on the show that talked about how to prepare for those travels. Like, what do you do? You know, because most people, your situation could be completely different, but the average person, it's financial. It's not because of covet. It's because like, can I afford this? And so she goes into how to make travel affordable and all of that. And I'm like, if I had known this, I probably would have seen at least a quarter of the world.
Right. Well, I'm like, listen, I'm not above cutting a couple pennies here and there.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and listen to that.
I think it was good information shared. And after COVID-19, I think everybody deserves to travel someplace, you know,
Yes.
even if it's within the United States. And if you've never been to DC or New Jersey, go for it. If you've never been to California, come on out this way. If you know, it's
Yeah.
like, why not? And I feel like flights, it would be so nice if like they said, hey, you know what, we get it, everybody's been going through this phase of being cooped up, and offer cheap flights, like crazy cheap.
Yeah. I think it would be nice just to have, there's sometimes I've traveled for work, and one time I booked a flight maybe like 2 weeks in advance, and it was like $1,000 or something from here to from DC to Colorado. I'm like, how is that expensive?
Exactly.
But it's just crazy. I'm like, why can't we just have what, $200 round trip? You know?
Ben, it sounds like I'm voting you to become like the CEO of the airline.
Southwest
Yes.
Airlines. I await your phone call.
Yes. I think that would help people to get out and travel around the world more. I hope that you're able to, I know that you will be able to make your trips, you know, like after COVID, and travel the world, and you'd have to maybe come back and share with us, like, where did you go, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll just have we'll have to talk about the description of the pictures because it's a podcast. So it's like, and this photo.
By then, Ben, I think that I'll have my camera going, and you can hold it up, and you're like, yeah,
do a show and tell. And then you can show me where you've gone.
Exactly. That would be so much fun. So, Ben, if people wanted to pick up the book and have this added into their library, because it is one of those books, you guys, where I feel like it's really helpful, and it's something that I think it would like actually bring benefit to your life and help you to just feel like you're walking away with, wow, that was good, and I actually have some takeaways. I have something that I actually learned and can apply in my life.
It's set up wherever you get books. The big one is Amazon. You go to Amazon, type in Harness Your Butterflies. It should be one of the first listings. And then also Barnes & Noble is carrying it for the print and Kindle version, or whatever their ebook is. It Nook maybe? But yeah, so for print and ebook. And then there's a bunch of ebooks wherever you get your ebooks. I think Apple Books has it, Kobo. There's a couple other places. But yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you kind of get your ebooks, it's all located there too.
Will your book eventually become an audio book as well?
Yeah, so I did not realize that audiobooks were so expensive to create. Well, at least the couple costs that I got, it was like, we're going to need to sell a couple more books before we do that. Ideally, that's going to be, I'm hoping in the next 4 to 5 months, I can start recording. So I'm hoping to do audio, but unfortunately not yet, but just for print and ebook.
Yeah, that's okay. Whenever you get there, but the book it's available now, and people can still buy the book now. And that's what's great, is that
Yes.
and you know what? It's not like a really difficult read where you're going to be tied up for, 2-3 months. Cause I've had books I've started where I'm like, this is going to be amazing. And then I started and they're like, it takes me a long time to get through it. I can't I have to put it down, and because, we all have our lives, This is the kind of book that you can carry with you. It's a good size, where it's not like a really big, bulky book where you can't put this for females in your purse, or for a guy, like just literally carry it in your hand or in your bag, So, and
Yeah, it was written. Yeah, it was written to be super quick. So I think maybe like 4-ish hours is how long it's been taking people to read. Super quick read. And I wrote it in a way, hopefully, because I don't like reading super academic type books either. I wrote it in pretty simple terms. So it's not like I'm, trying to create some sort of doctoral thesis or something. It's written for like real people who are just reading for the sake of learning, not for the sake of reading big words.
Yes, that's good stuff.
So my 3 tips for anybody who is trying to figure out what they want to do with their career, figure out what they want to do with their life. The first thing is pay attention to your check engine light, your internal guidance system. If you are struggling to figure out what you want to do, just stick with that. Make sure that you stop and assess and actually figure out what you want to do before you take the next step. Don't just keep driving for the sake of driving. Make sure that you're stopping, checking out what's wrong, and then diagnosing it and fixing it. The second thing is, don't get hung up on this idea of purpose and passion like it's one be-all, end-all thing. You will have multiple purposes in your life. You'll have multiple passions in your life. Pursue all of them as much as you can, and just figure out what is most exciting to you and do that. And that brings me to tip number 3, which is be excited and have fun. If you think of your career or your purpose as a compass, whatever is pointing north is the most exciting thing. Follow your guidance system. It's going to take you to the thing that's the most exciting. And as you're moving towards the thing that is the most exciting for you, that's when you will know that you're headed in the right direction. So care how you feel.
Thank you again, Benjamin, for coming on Authentic Talks and for leaving those tips with us as well. We now have 3 more tools that we can add into our toolbox. So we do appreciate that so much. You guys, the name of the book again is called Harness Your Butterflies, The Young Professional's Metamorphosis to an Exciting Career by Benjamin Preston. You guys, on the back of the book, there's the bullet points of what you're actually going to take away. So look at the back of the book. You're learning things like what makes today's top thought leaders like Oprah Winfrey and Warren Buffett successful, and just so much more. It's a great book. Go ahead and pick it up. I think that we can learn from everyone. We learn from absolutely everyone that we come in contact with. And reading is another way that helps us to continue to grow and develop. And I guess another way would be to tune into the podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you find that this podcast is helpful and that you love it and that you had some things that you could take away throughout listening to these episodes, you guys, please share it with friends and family, and I would appreciate and love it if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean so much. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm Shanta with Authentic Talks.